If you are a Dallas Cowboys fan, this offseason is one of those rare moments where the team's decisions could genuinely reshape the entire season, you have to admit. There are a lot of holes to fill, and the way the front office approaches free agency will tell us a lot about what direction they want to take. The biggest question looming over this whole process is whether the Cowboys are finally going to open up the checkbook and actually spend, or if we're going to see the same old conservative approach that leaves fans frustrated every single year. And if you're like me, you've been begging for them to make moves that actually matter. So if you want to see real action, you know what to do. Drop a comment and let them know we mean business now. This is not your typical top 25 list. I expanded it to 30 because the Cowboys have 6 major needs that could change depending on what happens in free agency: running back, offensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. Those are the positions that matter the most right now. And honestly, the depth at some of these spots is a little scary. There are more names than just 5 per group. Especially at linebacker and defensive end, the market is actually deeper than you might think. But I'm focusing on bigger, more recognizable names. I'm not going to include the ultra-cheap depth pieces that come up when you start making massive lists by position. We'll do deeper breakdowns later. But for now, this is the core of what the Cowboys should be looking at. Let's start with the running backs. The first name on the list is Breece Hall from the Jets. And I genuinely believe he is going to try to leave New York this offseason. If he hits free agency, he might be the best back available, even compared to Javonte Williams. A lot of people say Hall has been held back by the supporting cast around him, and there's some truth to that. He has been linked to several teams that need a true feature back, and I think he ends up at the top of many lists. In general, the running back class this year is pretty solid, and Hall is one of those players who can change a game with one play. Next up is Travis Etienne. We've talked about him before, and the consensus seems to be that he was not as dynamic or efficient as Javonte Williams. But he does bring something else to the table: consistency. Unlike Williams, Etienne has multiple seasons of over 1,000 rushing yards. That kind of steady production is valuable, especially if you want a back who can carry a load week in and week out. If the Cowboys want someone with more juice and explosive playmaking ability, Etienne is the one to watch. He can be a real weapon in the right system, and his ability to stay healthy and productive makes him a safe option. Then there's Kenneth Walker. He might end up returning to Seattle, especially after the injury to Zach Charbonnet in the playoffs. Walker had a strong season, clearing the 1,000-yard mark and showing real talent when given the opportunity. He has dealt with injuries in the past, and Seattle's run game has not always been efficient, but they have been committed to it. Walker didn't get much goal line work, but he still put together a very strong campaign. If the Cowboys want a back who can make an immediate impact, Walker is someone who could fit that mold. A name that keeps coming up is J.K. Dobbins, who has been talked about a lot over the last year. The biggest question with Dobbins is always health when he is on the field. He is a talented and explosive back, but he has struggled to stay healthy. He missed significant time this year, and his recent injury history makes him a risk. If he can prove he is healthy, he could be a bargain. But the Cowboys would have to be confident in his medicals. The upside is real, but the risk is equally present. From a cost and skill perspective, if the Cowboys lose Javonte Williams, you have to wonder how Tyler Allgeier fits into the picture. He does a lot of outside zone work in the Atlanta Falcons offense, but at times he has been better in other schemes. He is a player who has shown flashes, but also inconsistency. The weird thing about Allgeier is that he has had good years and then years where he looks like a backup. He would not be expensive, and if the Cowboys get priced out of the Javonte Williams market, Allgeier could be a low-risk option to fill the gap. Now, I'm not even going to dive into receivers or get into the George Pickens conversation because it seems like he is likely to get tagged. But the bigger question remains: which free agent running back are you targeting? If you are the Cowboys, let me know in the comments. There are a lot of directions this can go, and the Cowboys have to decide whether they want to be bold or conservative. If the Cowboys cut Terrence Steele, the offensive tackle situation becomes pretty concerning. It is not a fun spot to be in, and the options in free agency are not exactly overwhelming. Braden Smith is one of the names to consider. His overall grade is very similar to Steele's, and he is slightly better in pass protection but not as strong as a run blocker. The concern with Smith is age. He is getting older, and you have to wonder how many more years he has at a high level. Jonah Williams is another option, and he has ties to offensive line coach Clayton Adams from their time together in Arizona. Williams did not have a great year, and the Cardinals' offensive line struggled across the board, especially without their star tackle. Maybe a change of environment could help him, but he has also battled injuries. Cam Robinson is a player who has become something of a journeyman. Bouncing around the league, he might be a swing tackle option. But he had a rough season, and the constant moving from team to team has not been great for his performance. Trent Brown is another name, and when healthy, he has been good. The issue is that he has barely played over the last few years, and his injury history is tough to trust. The reality is that offensive tackle is one of the hardest positions to upgrade in free agency. You do not want to be desperate for a starting tackle, because those players rarely hit the open market. If the Cowboys cut Steele, he might still be one of the best options available, and that shows how thin the market is. This is why the Cowboys have to be smart and strategic with their decisions. Now let's move to the defense, because this is where the Cowboys have the most room to improve and the most potential to make a real splash in free agency. The edge rusher position is a big question mark, and the market is loaded with names that could come in and change the entire dynamic of the defense. The first name that stands out is Trey Hendrickson, a veteran pass rusher who has proven he can get after the quarterback. He has been one of the better players available in free agency. But the issue is that his market is unclear because of his health. He has been great when healthy, recording 17.5 sacks in back-to-back seasons. But then he had a down year due to injuries. He is also getting older, so it would not be surprising if he looks for a one-year prove-it deal. If the Cowboys are willing to take that risk, pairing him with someone like Dorrance Armstrong or bringing back DeMarcus Lawrence could create a really dangerous edge duo. Another name that has been linked to multiple teams is Jalen Phillips, who the Eagles acquired at the trade deadline. I still feel like we have not seen the best version of him yet. We have seen flashes of what he can be, but he has not consistently finished plays. He is more of a pressure guy than a sack guy at times, and that can be valuable because pressures often lead to sacks. The problem is that he is young and still has some question marks, and if his medical checks out, he could command a hefty contract. That might be too much for the Cowboys, especially if they want to manage their cap wisely. If you want to go the veteran route, there are a few names that could fit the mercenary contract style. Khalil Mack is one of those players. The question is whether he wants to keep playing and how much he has left in the tank. If he does play a full season, I think he can still produce 5.5 to 7 sacks, which is valuable in today's game. He might not reach the heights of his 21 tackle for loss and 17 sack season, but he has been consistently good over the years. Bringing in someone like Mack would give the Cowboys a reliable veteran presence and could help stabilize a position group that currently lacks depth. Joey Bosa is another veteran edge rusher who could be a target. The concern with Bosa is his health. He has played more games in recent years, but his sack numbers have not improved, and that is worrying. The idea of signing these older pass rushers on one-year deals is that they can provide stability, while the Cowboys draft a younger player early in the draft. A player like Quinion Pay from the Colts fits that mold. He was a former early-round pick who has had some productive seasons. Although this past year was a bit of a down year in terms of tackles for loss and sacks, still, if you can get 8 sacks from a player like Pay without breaking the bank, that is a valuable addition. There are more defensive ends that could be on this list, and we will go deeper into that in the future. The bigger question is how many new starters the Cowboys need on defense. That is a tough question, and the answer depends on what the front office believes about the current roster. The Cowboys have talent, but they also have holes, especially when it comes to depth and consistency. If you are the kind of team that wants to compete immediately, you might want to add 2 or 3 high-impact defenders in free agency. If you are looking to build more gradually, you might focus on one big addition and then fill out the roster with younger players. Now let's talk about linebackers, because this is another position that could use significant improvement. The name that stands out the most is Devin Lloyd, who had a breakout season and boosted his stock considerably. The tackle numbers might not fully reflect how good he was, because many of his tackles came in high-impact situations. He was also excellent in coverage, showing the ability to match up against tight ends and running backs. The Jaguars were right to decline his 5th-year option, but now they are regretting it because he has become one of the most valuable linebackers in the league. The franchise tag is too expensive, and the Jaguars will likely try to retain him. But he is going to command a massive contract, probably in the range of $15 to $16 million per year, if not more. Quincy Williams from the Jets is another linebacker who has been discussed heavily in Cowboys circles. I have joked before that he is practically a Cowboy already, and the logic behind that is easy to understand. He has had some issues in New York, and his time there did not end well this past season. But when he is productive, he is very productive. His brother plays for the Cowboys, and Dallas has a huge need at linebacker. All of that adds up, and if the money is right, it would not be shocking to see Quincy Williams in a Cowboys uniform in March. The Cowboys have a history of making these kinds of moves, and this one fits their pattern. Key Walker is another big name, a former first-round pick who I thought took a step back this past season. The tackle numbers were high, but he also missed a game or two, and the Packers linebacker group overall seemed to take a step back. Walker is extremely athletic, and he has always been a player with a lot of upside. The Packers might have missed their linebackers coach, and that could have impacted the entire unit. He will have interest from multiple teams, and there is no doubt that there is talent there. The question is whether he can return to his earlier form. Alex Singleton is another linebacker to consider, and his fit might depend on who the next defensive coordinator is. The Broncos have several linebackers in free agency, and Singleton had an excellent year with 135 tackles. Staying healthy throughout the season, when he is healthy, he is a tackling machine, and that kind of reliability is rare. The only caveat is that his performance can be very dependent on the scheme and the defensive coordinator, but if the Cowboys land the right coordinator, Singleton could be a great addition. Eric Wilson is also a name worth watching, and he could be a fit depending on the defensive coordinator. He is a Vikings linebacker who has had some solid seasons and has played in Brian Flores' system. He has been a bit of a journeyman, but his numbers were impressive, including 17 tackles for loss. That kind of production is hard to ignore, and it shows that he has a nose for the ball. People might not talk about him much because the Vikings' defense was not great this year, and Brian Flores gets a lot of attention, but Wilson is clearly an instinctual player, and he could be a valuable piece if the Cowboys want a linebacker who can make plays. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. What began as another heated monologue quickly turned into one of the most dramatic moments in recent sports television, at least according to the whispers now circulating around the league. During a live broadcast, Skip Bayless reportedly reached a breaking point and symbolically tossed a Dallas Cowboys jersey into the trash, a gesture that immediately ignited speculation about deeper turmoil surrounding the franchise. The act was not framed as a joke or theatrical exaggeration. It came with raw words, as Bayless allegedly shouted that Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer had destroyed my life and demanded the organization be thrown out of here, while no official explanation followed. The moment has been widely interpreted as more than simple frustration around league circles. The rumor is that Bayless' outburst reflected a broader sense of betrayal felt by longtime Cowboys loyalists who believed this era would finally deliver stability and clarity. Insiders speculate that Schottenheimer's leadership style, strategic decisions, and handling of expectations may have become the lightning rod for years of accumulated disappointment, even among media figures known for emotional extremes. Some believe the jersey toss was less about a single performance and more about a symbolic divorce from hope. Bayless has long built his persona on unwavering faith in the Cowboys, defending them when others mocked and doubling down when critics called him delusional. To see that same jersey end up in the trash, live on air, sent a message that resonated far beyond the studio. Was this a carefully planned stunt to capture attention or a genuine emotional collapse? The speculation grows louder by the hour. What remains unclear is whether this moment signals a turning point in how the Cowboys are perceived nationally. Rumors suggest the organization is once again facing a narrative problem, where frustration, impatience, and unmet expectations overshadow any sense of direction. If Bayless' reaction is a mirror of the fan base's subconscious, then the jersey in the trash may represent more than anger. It may represent exhaustion. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.